Hey, what's up everyone? Today we are going to be taking a look at ElementalX and more specifically the ElementalX Kernel Manager that was recently released on Google Play Store. This is a premium application that is going to run you about $4, but it's worth every penny if you use this kernel for your device. And it's actually universal with other kernels as well. It's not just specifically for ElementalX. It will work with other kernels, so that's great as well. You are going to have a lot of different subcategories here to set up different preferences based on your kernel needs. So that's pretty great. We'll go ahead and get into that in just a moment, but I'm actually running a different kernel right now as I just flashed Optipop. So we're going to go ahead and update to the latest version. So it is going to have an automatic update service here. You're going to see a little ElementalX with a download icon here. Go ahead and enable that and you'll be able to download the latest update. Now, the one thing that is pretty cool about this is it does have an express option. So if you do have currently a previous version of the kernel, you're going to see your changelog here. You'll be able to go into the express option, which will basically carry over all of your settings that are already saved in this manager. But if it is your first time setting up and you are installing through the application, you can make sure that you select that custom icon. So this is basically going to take you into recovery automatically once it downloads, and then you'll be able to set it up. So we're going to go ahead and set that up. Hit download. It's going to already be downloaded since I did it previously, and it will take you right into the reboot process. So this is an actual aroma installer. It's something that's pretty great about ElementalX. It's going to give you all of your information here with the ElementalX flash and what device you are flashing it to, the version number, the author, and the release date version. Go ahead and click next and then agree to the terms of use. Obviously, it doesn't want to be responsible for your device exploding in your hand during the flash process, which it's not going to do it. But yeah, go ahead and select next, agree to the terms, and you'll be able to overclock if you want to. Be aware that with the kernel manager, if you want to overclock, you will need to select the highest clock basically, and then you'll be able to go into lower values from the manager. So be aware of that. Otherwise, just go ahead and clock it at the stock value of whatever device you are using. Now in the next settings dialog, you will be able to choose your IO scheduler and your read-ahead buffer size, Now the two I recommend are BFQ for the Nexus 6 or FIOPS, not just the Nexus 6, but in general. BFQ is really great for access, read and write speeds, and battery performance is pretty decent. FIOPS is pretty much right in the middle, performance and battery life. These are your two best options, at least in my opinion. You can agree to disagree, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and choose BFQ, that's my favorite. And I'm going to go ahead and max out the read ahead 2048. If it was higher, I would actually choose a higher percentage. Go ahead and hit next once you have those values set, and you'll be able to adjust your wake gestures. I like double tap and sweep down and up. I don't use left or right, but you can enable whatever you want based on your preferences. You also have a feedback option, so you can enable that vibration feedback if you want to. Click next, and then you'll be able to do your sweep to sleep based on your navigation bar. I disable mine because I don't use the nav bar. I use swipe navigation or LMT launcher or Pi controls, but you can choose whatever you want, obviously. I do enable USB fast charge. You can select whether or not you want to enable fast sync or F-sync or the charge LED. Now the charge LED is basically when you plug your device in, if you want to see the LED light come on or not. This may change or be dependent on your ROM as well. I just leave it toggled off. Go ahead and click next and then install ElementalX and we're good to go. Now, if you are experiencing boot loop issues with a particular ROM that you are installing, if you have the option to set a SE Linux to permissive or SE Linux, then go ahead and do that and you'll probably not experience that boot loop issue anymore. I'm going to go ahead and let this go through the reboot process and we'll continue the video. All right, so now ElementalX is indeed flashed on my device and we're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and pop open the manager once again, the application for ElementalX Manager. You're going to see all your basic information here. This is your dashboard. It's going to give you all your tiles and you'll be able to see all of your information displayed here for the most part. Now, one thing to note is you can also select these tiles and it will actually take you to each specific category or setting menu, which is pretty great. I actually like it. It flows pretty well. In some cases, it's a little bit weird, but it's overall pretty nice. Now, I would like to see the uptime, the little display here that shows your status. I don't know why it takes you to an update menu because it's not really what I was looking at. I'd rather it would take me to the battery monitor or something like that. It would be more convenient, I think, but hey, it is what it is in its current iteration. But you do have a battery monitor that you can choose in tools. You have your battery monitor color control, CPU times, you can back up kernel, and you can actually log, use your last kernel log. Apparently it doesn't have one. And you can go in here and check out your battery stats. Now, one thing I want to make a little clear with this particular battery monitor is it does have a sense start, but if you plug in your device, charge it fully, and you want to show your stats from your discharge, or you just take out the plug that you are charging with, your source, your power source, go ahead and hit Sense Now. That will basically start from the minute you unplug. So you'll have 3 different options now. You'll have the option to select a start, and then you'll have the option from when your device was started. And then you have the option of going back to your set date or set start where you unplug your power source. So you can keep a track from that, and then you can also keep a track from your actual uptime, your total uptime. 2 different methods. So it's a little bit interesting. It's different than most battery monitors, and I just wanted to kind of clarify that as it's a little bit different than most out there. But it is working as intended, or the way the developer intended is he prefers this method, and that's fine. Now you are going to have 2 different power source options up here, or toggles rather. You can go into a complete performance mode where all CPU cores are going to be active at all times. You can change that value as well. I'll go over that in a minute. Or you can go into a power save mode, which is basically going to enable, or it is supposed to enable, only 2 CPU cores. For some reason there, it was still displaying 3. But yeah, this is going to have a little bit of a hit on performance depending on your device. Now with the Nexus 6, I didn't notice too much of a performance decrease or hit. Unless you are going to be super heavy on multitasking or gaming, then obviously I wouldn't recommend you being in a power save mode, but this is a nice mode. Now what I mean by you can change your preferences is in settings here, you can actually go into advanced options and adjust your power save mode option as well as your power or performance mode options. So you come in here and you can change up your limits and your max and limits values. You can also turn off vibration if you want to, which is great. And it's all customizable in here, which is super awesome. You can also display your notifications in your quick toggle here, or notification drawer. So if you don't want to see those, you can disable that. You also have an auto power save mode. So when your device is in a low percentage or battery percentage, it will automatically enter the power save mode settings that you have featured. Down here in the general section, you will have your temperature units, Celsius, Fahrenheit. You can toggle that on with a simple tap. CPU notification and disable battery monitor if you want to stop that service. You have your battery information there, your temperature, if you enable that notification toggle. Color dashboard. Basically, if you want to have all of your tiles colored, you will have to restart the application. So go ahead and kill the task, reopen it, and then you'll get your really saturated, very vibrant tiles. I would rather see them a little bit lighter, lollipop material type. I'm just being nitpicky, but it's a cool feature if you like color values. It's definitely easier to tell them apart. Otherwise, you can just go back to the stock. Like I said, you will have to kill the task, kill the app, restart it in order to get it back to the original look. Over here, you do have the option to hit the little button to swipe over, or just use gesture swiping to toggle the different setting menus. You have your dashboard, your CPU, graphics, gestures, voltage, sound. You can get the idea. Now, CPU, you will be able to adjust the max and minimum values. You can go into CPU statistics, which is going to show you your frequency settings and how long they were at that interval and the times there. You also have a percentage value and a bar indicator, which is pretty cool. You can reset, restore, and pretty great stuff there. You also have hot plug options you can change. You can change through MP decision, disable it, or use a custom hot plug, which is already enabled by default. And you can change up your max cores. So if you only want 3 cores online, you can go and do that for whatever reason. You can also do a lot of different things in here. Be careful if you don't know what you're doing, because you can script some things or just not really make it very optimized. CPU governor, if you want to change that, you have the option available. Default is ElementalX, obviously, because ElementalX is the kernel. I don't really mess with this, but if I do, I normally go to interactive, but you can change it to conservative. Conservative is basically going to put you into a conservative mode, obviously. Power save is basically going to be the lowest frequencies available at all times for the most part. Performance is going to max out your frequencies at almost all times. So you can go in there and adjust that, figure out what you like if you need to. You have advanced governor options you can enable if you know what you're doing. If you don't, I wouldn't recommend you go in these subcategorized menus because you can screw up a lot of things. But that is your CPU menu. Some great stuff in there, customizations. GPU, you can max it out, minimize your GPU settings as well. This will all be dependent on your device, obviously. GPU governor, you have all the options available through your kernel specifically. So great stuff. You also have advanced color monitor, control, This is basically a calibration, and it's built in, and you can actually hit the little picture here and change your different values. So you can change your saturation, anything you need to based on that actual reference. Now, you do have a grayscale option, which is kind of power saving. Think of it as Samsung's ultra power saving mode, almost kind of, but not really. But you can change that. Interesting little tool that you can adjust. Now, the one thing I do want to kind of nitpick, and maybe in my case is a negative, is there's no way to set a profile at all, anywhere, unless I'm completely blind. But I've been through this thing, and that's just not here in this current version. I'd like to see that, as with Kernel Editor or Auditor, which is free, you can create profiles. So if I wanted to not only change my calibration on the display, but my actual CPU values and all the different things in the settings menus, I have to go in here and manually do everything all over, or just manually do it in each subcategorized menu. Instead of just set a profile and then change everything I want, set a different profile, change everything I want, and swap back and forth. So that's a little, inconvenient. I'd like to see that updated. Maybe that will be featured in a next update. That would be great. But otherwise, you do have your gestures that you can change. Your double tap to wake, you can disable it, enable it based on the tap. You can set your reboot values here, apply on reboots. Very simple process. Just tap on the side there. Sweep to wake, you have everything here. This is functional with most kernels out there, so it is universal. I like that. You are paying $4 for ElementalX Manager, but you can use it with other kernels, so it's not just specifically ElementalX. So it does pay for itself in the end, and it's worth paying for it to support the developer, because he takes time out of his personal life, obviously, to bring us some great stuff. So yeah, sweep to wake, you can enable everything if you want to, or just specific menus items. In here, you can only enable one. Obviously, sweep to sleep. If you use the nav bar, you can sweep on that. Right, or left, disabled. Gesture vibration, if you want feedback from gestures, you will have that feedback, so you'll know that something is actually going on. Voltage settings, you have a global setting at the top, or you can set each value specifically if you want to. Again, no profile to go in here and manually adjust that. Now, one thing I want to tell you guys specifically, if you want to undervolt, the best way to do this, in my opinion, is to download Intuitu Benchmark. It's very simple, it's free, and basically you're just going to go in intervals of 5 or 10. You can even start really high if you want to. Just make sure you don't have apply on boot enabled when you're messing with it until you get a stable setting, and then tick that on once you get a stable undervolt. Basically just go in intervals of 5 or 10, negative, obviously, and run Intuitu until it passes. If it passes and you don't crash the device, or you don't have a reboot or anything like that, then you're stable. You can keep downclocking or undervolting from there until you find something, until you crash. And then you make sure you write it down, obviously, whatever you need to do. But that's how I do it. And, I'm running -60, -70 on my Nexus 6. So you can use that method if you want to. It's a really easy setup and way to do it. You also have your sound toggle here. Settings, you can adjust your headphone gains, mic gains, camcorder mic gains. You can lock your settings if you want to. Again, apply on boots. Very, very easy process, very nice. Miscellaneous is going to have your I/O scheduler, your read ahead, your F-Sync, your vibration intensity on the device. So if you want to disable that completely, you have that option. I like to keep mine around 40 or 50 because the Nexus 6 is pretty hardcore with the vibrator. If you max it out, I mean, it'll shake this whole table. It's that crazy. Not really, but yeah, you can adjust the vibration in here, which is awesome. I don't know if that saves or not. I'm going to tick it. USB fast charge. Now, my settings in particular with ElementalX, I like BFQ for the I/O scheduler. It's pretty great on read-write speeds on SD cards and read-aheads, things of that nature. It's very fast in terms of scheduling. FIOPS is another good one, FIOPS, whatever you want to call it. You guys can agree to disagree, but you have all your options here based on the kernel. You might get more based on whatever kernel you're using. Hell's Core and Despair I know has a ton, but my two top priorities are BFQ and FIOPS. BFQ being my first priority, and then I max it out on the read ahead. And F-Sync I leave enabled. Everything else I just leave, B. Battery monitor is accessible through here as well if you want to get in there. I already mentioned that. ElementalX download option, you can check, make sure you are on the latest version. You can click on that, see your changelog if you want to. As I mentioned, you do have the custom setup, so if it's your first time installing, hit custom. That way you can set everything up initially through the recovery. Express option is for if you are just updating the kernel to the latest version, and it will keep all of your settings, which is super awesome. But come on, bring us some profiles, and this thing will be perfect. Tools, you have your options: battery, monitor, color, control. Just a simpler way to get in there. CPU times, it's kind of like a quick setting, quick toggle. But everything else is available through here as well. It's just another toolbox. And then you have your settings menu. I went over most of this. Check for updates, automatically reboot when an update's applied. You can go to Wi-Fi only, so if you are on a network, cellular network, you won't download wire over your precious data. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was informative. Hopefully I didn't stutter or say too much or leave anything out. If I did, you have the comment section below. You can leave any questions, or you can just say, hey man, good job, whatever. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Definitely support the developer behind ElementalX and the kernel manager. It's worth $4. Even if you don't use ElementalX, it's universal with most kernels out there. And it's just really nice with the material design. But that pretty much sums it up. I'll catch you guys as always in the next video.